Whether you drive a car or use public transportation, at some point during the day, everyone is a pedestrian, and pedestrians are among the most vulnerable users of the road, where fatalities are increasing. I'm Grace Trafton of The Better Part. Stay tuned for some safety tips and advice on how you, your children, and grandchildren can stay safe. The Better Part is produced by volunteers at the Cupertino Senior Center. Absolutely no experience is required to join the Better Part. If you would like to look into being a part of our group, please leave a message with the Cupertino Senior Center. It's a lot of fun to be part of a TV show, so come check us out. Cordell Bailey is the Traffic Safety Education Officer for the City of San Jose Department of Transportation. He is a certified safety instructor and has many years of experience speaking to both students and adults on how to be a safe and defensive pedestrian, as well as bicycle safety education. Welcome, Cordell. It's really good to see you here today.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you for having me.
I understand that the City of San Jose has developed a number of programs related to pedestrian safety. Let's start with a program called Street Smarts. Can you tell us about this program?
Yeah, absolutely. The Street Smarts program is a program that's designed as an educational tool to help drivers, pedestrians, and bicycle riders be safe on the streets.
And what are the leading causes of accidents in most cities?
Well, all accidents are different, but we see mostly distracted pedestrian and driving behaviors, also with bicycles, darkness, visibility concerns, and also crossing in incorrect or improper locations.
And what is the goal of Street Smarts?
To reduce injuries, accidents, to reduce accidents on our city streets. For all roadway users.
Who are the people that are most at risk, do you think?
The people that are most at risk would be our pedestrian population. That would include our students, our senior population, and anybody that's an alternative roadway user. Our bicycle riders. Cars have become a lot safer, but for the pedestrians and for the bicycle riders, they're the ones that are most at risk.
So they have to be really conscious of what's going on around them.
Absolutely, staying aware at all times while crossing the street.
So looking down at your smartphone is not a good idea, is it?
No, it's not a good idea. And for drivers as well, you know, we're seeing a lot of distracted driving behavior with the use of cell phones. If you have a pedestrian who's also using a cell phone, we begin to wonder who's actually paying attention when crossing the roadways.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I understand that you give many presentations to school children of all ages. First, share with us your presentations to younger students, like in grades K through 6.
Very good. So the Street Smarts Assembly program is something that I do. We speak to over 20,000 children per year, students at elementary schools. And what we do is we go in and we set up a safety town. And it kind of shows the students in a real world of what we're talking about and some of the ways that they can safely cross the street. Of course, we always advise them at first that we need to use the crosswalk. The second thing we would do is that we need to tell them to stop at the curb and use their looking directions. And everybody remembers their looking directions, but it's looking left, it's looking right, it's looking left again, it's looking forward, but it's also looking behind you. And the students will say, well, why am I looking behind me? And we'll say, well, we're looking for turning vehicles. It's one of our largest causes of accidents are vehicles that are turning right. They're not focused on the pedestrian standing here, they're focused on the oncoming traffic. So when we're advising the students, we advise them to look over their left shoulder and to see these cars that are turning and usually stop and let them go, unless, of course, they see them out there. Not just the drivers, of course, we want them to pay attention, but we want the pedestrians to pay attention as well, the bike riders as well. Never assume a car is going to stop for you, you know, by using eye contact, by using any tool that you have, waving, you know, do you really see me? Are you really stopped for me? You know, I think a lot of people have gotten good at, you know, looking at their cell phone, but also looking like they're paying attention. You know, so we're advising students to, you know, a little wave, you know, whatever you have to do to get the driver's attention while crossing the street. But for the students, you know, not to be messing around with a backpack, not to be, you know, reading a book, playing with a cell phone, but to, again, keep your eyes up and keep looking for cars the whole time.
How about middle school and high school presentations?
The middle school presentation is much like the elementary education that we do out there. We keep it a little more exciting for them. It's easy to lose their interest. The same rules apply though. The looking directions, the stopping before crossing, the paying attention, the keeping their head up. The goals are very much the same for that. With the high school students, we changed it up a little. You know, instead of me coming out there as Officer Bailey to talk to them, which they probably won't listen to me as much, we usually use the leadership positions at the school or some of the leadership groups at the school to run the program themselves, come up with a messaging campaign that the students will listen to fellow students about.
So are the messages sinking in, do you think?
We're hoping. We're really hoping. We like to see the other students be able to tell other students some of the stories that they're seeing. And a lot of times what we're seeing with the high school students and even the middle school students, they have personal experiences. Somebody was injured by a car that they know. They've seen a traffic accident. Maybe somebody was involved in a traffic accident. Or maybe they themselves have been involved in an accident. You know, what did they do wrong? What behaviors did they learn from that they can pass on to their fellow students?
So how often are these presentations given at a particular school?
We usually do it on about a 2-year cycle. Therefore, we can catch the kindergartners who are now in 2nd grade, and we take the 2nd graders that we spoke to in the 3rd graders, maybe we can catch them in the 5th and 6th grades. So it's kind of, you know, we're keeping the conversation going. You know, with the older students, it's a little more graphic of some of the things that we see out there. And, you know, we don't want to scare the younger ones,
Right.
absolutely not. But
Right.
we want them to get the basics of pedestrian safety. With the older students, we kind of, you know, we realize you may know this, we're going to review it. But let's move on and talk about some other strategies that we can use to be defensive pedestrians.
Now, do most cities in the Bay Area do this?
Yeah, there's many cities in the Bay Area that have education programs. A lot of these are run through the county, the Traffic Safety Community Network, among other resources that are out there as well. We focus pretty much just on San Jose.
Oh, okay. And what are the differences in speaking to students versus older adults?
Well, for students, you know, we're always concerned about students in the morning and the afternoon. That's when the busiest, you know, we see the most cars in the school zone. You know, our older population really doesn't have that. They kind of have that all day long. So they're not really going to have to focus on those school zones themselves. But for both, you know, it's a matter of vision and a peripheral vision that we're coming up with. You know, as we're younger, we're still developing this. Our spatial development, how fast vehicles are coming at us. You know, for younger children, they may not have this down yet. And for us older adults, we kind of actually kind of lose this a little bit as well. A lot of things that we can do, you know, we can increase the pedestrian timing signals for the older adults as well, trying to get them, you know, if they need more time to cross these busy streets. But we advise everybody to keep their heads up, to be aware, you know, never assuming drivers are going to stop for you. You know, wave, you know, whatever you have to do to let drivers know you're there.
Are there any basic differences in your message to adults?
You know, for adults, I think we really focus on some of the details of crossing these streets. Let's say we have a crosswalk without any kind of signals, and we have multiple lanes. You know, we advise the students in this as well, but we really focus on this with our older population that once they pass the first car that stopped for them, we want them to kind of stop again and make sure the other traffic is going to stop as well. You know, we want them to be able to see that car that stops, sure, but there might be another car that might be passing again. So again, keeping your head up, using your looking directions, and not being distracted when crossing these streets.
Now, with the walk signs, how is the length of time determined and how long they're
So our
on?
engineers usually take the fastest walker and they'll take the slowest walker and they'll have a happy medium in between. That's a great thing. Now, another thing we do teach a lot of people is about the pedestrian countdown. When the pedestrian countdown starts to count down, we would prefer people wait for the next walk signal.
Right.
We don't want them to cross when it's halfway counting down because the problem is it can stop, it can change on you. When the light turns green, of course, traffic will start coming. There's a lot of drivers out there that know that they can time these lights. So if the countdown's already started when you reach the corner, please stop and wait for
Right.
the next walking signal.
Yeah.
That's a lot safer to do instead of trying to race it, hurrying across these busy streets. And with the students running, that gets very dangerous. We always advise them not to run in the crosswalk.
I have a pet peeve about the lights, the walk signs,
Yeah.
because I walk fairly quickly for somebody my age, and there are some lights where I barely make it to the other end, where it's going 0 when I finally, reach to the other end. So somebody who walks much slower, and a lot of senior citizens walk much slower, they're only halfway across. So that's why I was asking you, how is it determined?
We're always looking for feedback from the public and the Department of Transportation to let us know this. We can add more time. It's one of the most easiest, cost-effective things that we can do is add more time. We can add 5 seconds, 10 seconds, depending on how much more time pedestrians need. The pedestrians that are actually using these crosswalks, how much more time that they need. It's an easy thing for us to do is add more time to them. We also advise them too to let us know what they're seeing out there that might be a hazard. A cracked sidewalk, a sign that's down, a curb that needs to be painted red, people parking illegally. Please let us know. We're trying to make it safer for all roadway users.
It's good to know that we can actually contact you, and
Absolutely.
somebody's actually going to be listening.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the other needs that older adults may have?
Well, again, we like that. So we have done things at the senior communities, such as designing walking routes to those senior communities, going on walk with the senior population, and kind of seeing the directions that they traveled, some of the routes that they're using to get there.
Oh, that's
If
good.
we can make these routes safer, if we can add ADA ramps, if we can add different things along these routes to make them better and more walkable, we want to see more people walking out there. We think it's a great thing. It's good exercise. It's good to socialize. It's good to get out, talk to the neighbors, see what's going on in the neighborhood. So it's a great thing. But we want them to, we want to have them let us know what their needs are in a lot of cases.
Great. So it's important for the public to give you feedback, isn't it?
Absolutely. But again, we can do these designs and we can do these different things, but we need to make sure that they're kind of following the rules as well. Not jaywalking, crossing at the most appropriate location are crosswalks. And if there's no crosswalk, cross at the corner. Please don't cross mid-block, jaywalk, because traffic is moving much quicker, but also there's parked cars, so you'd be crossing in between 2 parked cars, which is also a very dangerous thing.
Right.
I think in a lot of situations too, I've heard this, I've heard this in a lot of different communities that I'll go to. They'll say, well, the reason why I always jaywalk, I'll ask, why are we jaywalking here? I take these pictures of people jaywalking, and, sometimes I'll show these pictures and say, this is the behavior we don't want to do. And they'll be like, oh, that's me. That's me crossing there. Well, I didn't mean to take the picture to shame anybody, but what I'm hearing is that a lot of times people get confused when there's a lot going on at a very busy intersection. You have right turn drivers, you may have a left turn driver, you may have traffic going this way, that way. Sometimes people think, well, you know what, it's easier if I cross down here, because now I only have to look for 2 directions of coming traffic. But it's not safe. Again, because people are not expecting, drivers are not expecting people to be crossing there, and speeds are a lot faster.
Now, bicycle safety is also important. Tell us about bicycle safety. What advice can you give?
Yeah, bicycle safety is very, very important. We've passed some laws. It's the 3 feet rule that gives the bicycle riders a bit more buffer out there. We've passed multiple things, and we're actually actively putting in bike lanes in San Jose with these green bike lanes that are highly visible for the drivers. So it's a really good thing. But of course, the bicycle riders themselves need to follow the rules. Once
do they?
We were hoping that they do. And again, it's an education process for us. Once you get on a bicycle, as many bicycle riders know, that you're now the same as the car.
Right.
The rules are the same as the car. The stop signs, you also have to stop at stop signs.
Right.
You have to ride predictably. Don't cut in and out of parked cars. Same direction as traffic. Signal, communicate to other cars or other bicyclist riders out there. There's many things. It's really an education thing. So we start this with at a young age by talking to the children about how to be a safe rider on the streets.
Like wearing your helmet at all times.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Now, I know that San Jose has a program called a bicycle rodeo. Tell me about that.
Yeah, this is a very fun event that we do at a lot of our schools in San Jose. What it is, it's a small, closed safety course. We bring some extra bikes, but we have them bring their bikes as well. And what we do, started off by doing a bicycle safety check, an ABC bicycle safety check. We covered the air, the brakes, and the chain. You know, is it all in good working order? Is your bicycle safe? So we kind of go over it with them, and we let them know how they can repair their bikes themselves. And also we adjust their helmets. When they bring their helmets, we look at their helmets. Sometimes we are able to provide one for them if their helmet is cracked or broken. But again, we look at their helmets, we adjust them and make sure they're fit well. And the next thing we do is we do something called a shoulder check. Again, this is on a closed course. It's a safe, closed course, usually on the school playground. But they'll ride along and they'll ride past somebody and they'll look over their left shoulder and they'll tell whoever's standing there what they see. In our case, we hold up a poster. It's either a car or a bicycle. And it lets them, you know, it allows them to look over their shoulder, let that person know what they see, but keeping their handlebars straight. I think we need to learn that as young riders, that they don't look over their shoulder and go that same direction. You know, that happens a lot of times when you're just learning. But it's important to know what's behind you. The next one would be the panic stop. They come up and we have somebody with a sign. We turn it from slow to stop. We let these kids know how to position their pedals so they can do a proper stop if they have back brakes, or to add equal pressure to be able to stop with their hand brakes. You wouldn't believe on how many times I've seen kids drag their feet, and that's how they've always stopped. And
I see.
it's not an efficient way to stop your bicycle. So we kind of go over this by having them go through this route multiple times.
It sounds like maybe adults can use some of these tips, right?
It is very possible, yes.
How about scooters or skateboards? Are there safety rules?
Scooters and skateboards, the rules are kind of the same. You know, a lot of these, and the scooters and skateboards are on the sidewalk. But we have something called the white light rule. The backing of vehicles, we tell the children, what does it mean when you see the white lights on the back of a car in a driveway mean? If you hear that car running, what does that mean? You know, and you'll be surprised. You know, we know as adults what that means. We know that car's backing up, but a lot of children may not know that. So be advised for the backing cars. Be advised for cars turning into driveways. You know, if a car looks like it's going to turn into a driveway, chances are it is. You know, so that we advise them that. We advise them also when you get to the end of the sidewalk and you're going to cross in the crosswalk to stop and also use your looking directions. You know, if you're now a pedestrian, you know, you have to make sure you're looking out for the cars, to give those cars more time to stop for you.
Right. Now, there is something called the 3 E's of safety for transportation. What exactly is that?
Oh, the 3 E's, that's very good. Okay, so let's start with the first E, which would be enforcement. You know, enforcement, that would be any local agency that we have, our police, our highway patrol. In San Jose, we have a school parking safety team. All these agencies going out there and enforcing our laws, educating, but also enforcing as well. We have something that happens 2 times a year called Operation Safe Passage, where all available units will focus on schools to make them safer. Make sure the speeds are down, make sure people are stopping and yielding for pedestrians, and make sure people aren't double parking. Also would be engineering. So we have a very strong engineering group where we're always looking at kind of new things to do, different ways to make complete streets. You know, complete streets is something we're going to probably hear about more in the future, but how to make the roadway safe for everybody, how to make it safe for drivers, how to make it safer for pedestrians, and how to make it safer for bicycle users. So making a complete street design. You know, adding new pedestrian safety enhancements, we can do that as well. You know, strong engineering is really one of the key things to the 3 E's.
Yes.
And then, of course, education. You know, education is what I do. You know, I go out there and we need to educate the population about the proper ways to use our streets and our roadways in order for everybody to be a lot safer.
So are all the cities doing the 3 E's?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. All the cities are doing the 3 E's. And actually in San Jose we've added 2 more to make it 5 E's. One would be, evaluation. We evaluate the roadway to let us know, is this particular program working? Is it not working? Or can something be done? Do we need to think outside the box? The other one is encouragement. You know, and encouragement is a great thing too. It's encouraging more people to walk and bike.
Are you succeeding?
We are succeeding. We are succeeding. We do have a program. We have many programs. We have biking to work programs. We have a program called the Walk and Roll program too. That's a great program.
Tell us about that.
The Walk and Roll program. So the Walk and Roll program is a walking and biking encouragement program. Currently, right now, we're doing it at, I think, 40 schools in San Jose. And what we do there is we, of course, go in and we talk about safety with bicycles and pedestrians, but we're also encouraging people to walk and bike more to school. Now, one of the problems we're having, and we all know this by if you live around an elementary school or a high school, we see a lot of cars. And every time I go to an elementary school or a middle school, I'll take a poll. How many people walked to school today? Well, I'll see a spattering of hands. Then I'll say, well, how many people took a bicycle to school today? I'll see maybe one or two. Then I'll say, how many people came by car today? And then I'll see everybody raise their hand. So now we have all these people driving to school. Now, when I went to school, way back when, everybody walked. Everybody walked. And our schools were designed that way. They were designed in residential neighborhoods where people could walk and bike to schools, and that's what the majority of people have done. But it seems like more and more people have started to drive their children to school. So we're seeing a lot more traffic, and it gets a lot more dangerous. So what we have done is we've installed walk to school days. Super popular with kids, maybe one Wednesday a month to start, and then it goes to every Wednesday a month. Maybe it goes to 2 days a week. We're encouraging more people to walk and bike to school. And we have some strategies to help parents, feel safer about it too. One is stranger danger. The parents are always very concerned about strangers or, some of the things they'll hear out there. So they want to drive their kid directly to the school. Or they're worried about traffic, okay? So one of the ways we've got around this and kind of, help this situation out is by doing a walking school bus where large groups of kids will meet along the way and will pick up more students and everybody walks together with parent volunteers, with sometimes teachers. And so these walking school buses will come in different routes with a lot of kids. So that's one strategy. Another strategy is a kind of a bike bus where we have everybody get together on bicycles and ride together as a group for safety. And the kids are really excited to do this. They're very excited to do this.
How about the parents? Are they excited also?
The parents are excited as well, because they realize that, around our schools, of course, we're focused on the environment, right? The environment, the more cars we get off the roadway makes our air cleaner, okay? Also, the kids are getting more exercise by walking and biking. We're always looking to do that. But it actually makes our school zone safer. The more cars we can take off the roadway, it makes it safer. And once you explain to them, this is why we're doing these walking and biking encouragement programs, they are very excited,
So do you give these talks to the parents as well?
So yes, absolutely. That's also part of what I do. I go to the back to school nights. I go to the PTA meetings. In fact, I'll go anywhere where I can speak to a large group of parents, usually at the beginning of the year and sometimes even at the end of the year. But what I go is I talk about how to be a safe driver in the school zone. It is the one time of day where you need to be the most polite.
Right.
You need to be the least distractive. Put everything down, the cell phones. Don't focus on the kids in the back. Focus on the roadway. Go the slowest. Be the most courteous. And be the most patient. Be the most patient. Certainly don't double park and let children off in the street.
Right.
That's very dangerous.
Right.
Yield to the pedestrians out there. If all this is, you find it hard to do, park a little ways away, maybe a block away, and walk in that way as well. But sometimes, because we really don't like to enforce, the laws and send PD out there and make everybody mad, and sometimes it has to be done. But it's more of an education thing. People go, oh, that's why I shouldn't double park, because if I get rear-ended and the children are getting out of the car, it gets very, very dangerous.
Right.
And you just kind of put that thought in their mind, and they think, maybe I will pull a little ways down and park legally.
So do you think you're having an effect on parents?
I do hope so. I really do hope so.
I mean, is there any way of measuring?
I think, we absolutely do. We do. With the Walk and Roll program, we do. In fact, San Jose has a great track record about accidents around our schools. And so we do think the education program really does help. All parents want safety around the schools. Everybody wants safe traffic around the schools. The residents would like to see safe traffic around the schools as well. Traffic calming. We want to make it a lot more calm. And the best way of doing that is, again, the 3 E's. The enforcement, if we have to, the education and the encouragement. You know, encouragement is, again, a big thing for this.
Right. Well, last but not least, there's something called a HAWK program. What is that? Very briefly.
The HAWK program. Yes, the HAWK program, it's a new pedestrian signal that we are installing in San Jose. So we have used the enhanced crosswalk for a while. The enhanced crosswalk is basically where the pedestrian pushes a button and yellow lights will flash, and it kind of makes them more visible to the drivers that are coming, lets drivers know that there's somebody in the crosswalk. And this new thing is called a pedestrian safety HAWK. It stands for a high intensity activated crosswalk. Now, a lot of people have been using these in the East Coast. A lot of cities have used these in the East Coast for quite some time with great success. Now, what it is we put these on busy streets. It both allows for pedestrian safety, but it also allows traffic to keep moving.
Now, how does it work?
Okay, so how it works, for the pedestrian, it's basically the same thing. You come up to it, you activate the button by pushing the button, and you wait until you get the walking signal, okay? But for the drivers, it's a little bit different. Now, what it is, it's a T light, okay? Now, when the pedestrian pushes the button, the light will start flashing yellow to advise drivers there is somebody waiting to cross. Okay, so then the drivers need to slow down, start paying attention, okay? Then it will go to red, okay? Then it'll lose red just like a red light. Everybody stops, okay? Now the pedestrian can start crossing the street. They have the walking signal, and they'll start crossing the street, getting all the way across. Now, with the countdown, when the countdown starts, the pedestrian HAWK will start flashing red. Okay, it'll start flashing red, which allows drivers, if the pedestrian is clear, to stop and then proceed. Stop and then proceed, treating it like a stop sign. When the cycle is completely over, it goes dark, and you just completely drive through it, ignore it until the next pedestrian comes. So what it does, it makes the pedestrians more visible, number one, but it also allows traffic to keep moving on these busier streets.
I see. So are there very many HAWK signals?
In San Jose, no. We're going to be installing our first here coming up shortly.
I see. Are there any in the surrounding cities?
Not that I know of yet.
So mostly back in the East Coast?
You're mostly back in the East Coast.
You said that it's coming.
Yes, it is coming to San Jose, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Cordell, for being with us today. You've given us a lot of good tips.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us today. I hope you found our program informative. Please remember to also watch us on YouTube and Roku. See you next week. Bye-bye.